I am basically self-taught. It started out as a hobby and I learned on my home computer, and eventually ended up starting my own company with a couple of friends. Our company, Keytoon Animation Studios, has worked on projects for companies such as Disney, Nickelodeon and Paramount. I use Maxwell Render on around 90% of the projects I work on, because my clients usually hand over the lighting part to me and let me make my own decision about which renderer to use. I have used Maxwell Render on projects such as Bubble Bip, produced in Barcelona, where we used Maxwell initially just on the look development, but ended up using it across the whole pipeline, because everything was left predefined for production and the whole series could be made entirely with Maxwell.
Mira, a veure si ets capaç d'arribar més amunt que jo.
Més amunt que tu? I tant!
I have also used Maxwell on projects such as Grand Piano, a film by Elijah Wood. It was produced in Spain with foreign actors, and the look dev for one of the sequences was made with Maxwell. To define where the sequence went, type of materials, everything, this whole sequence was developed entirely using Maxwell. For me, as a lighting TD, Maxwell is really simple to use because I don't have to worry about parameters and those little settings that take up so much time, and when I hit render, I don't have to worry about whether it's going to look good or bad. With Maxwell, I know that my renders will turn out exactly as I expect. So this means I can avoid the typical render trial and error process, which is so time consuming. This is time that I personally prefer to use improving the lighting setup and the quality of the work. Spending time on something that doesn't actually improve quality or make the client happier is simply time wasted. With Maxwell, I don't have any of these worries. It's much easier to know that if I put a light here, or if I've got some objects in this area, they'll look just how I think they're going to look. In look dev, one of the most important things is having a fast turnaround. We're not dealing with final render quality because the next day they'll change everything and you're not going to use the same image that you had the day before. With a list of 10 changes, you need to be capable of making those 10 changes quickly, without the stress of not knowing how they're going to turn out. You simply apply the changes, send to render, and you're done. This speed is what makes me stay with Maxwell. I don't have time to fiddle about and fight with other render engines. Ever since the interactive engine was introduced in Maxwell, I have found it impossible to imagine how I ever managed to work without it. Being able to have 4 or 5 elements, start working, add some lights, and in real time be able to configure everything and see the result immediately, allowing you many iterations without wasting any time. This is the key to a fast turnaround. And then also having the option that Maxwell's Multilight gives you to make last-minute changes. Adjustments that you can make in 2 or 3 clicks without having to re-render and waste more time. One of the things that has helped me a lot in the look dev process is that when I have meetings with clients, which can be remotely or in person, I can make changes on the fly with the interactive engine or with Multilight. Very often the client is looking for a feeling or a particular result but doesn't know how to go about achieving it. They say things like, okay, on this image, I think we're missing a bit of this or a bit of that. When they say this, I can get multi-light and adjust the intensity, the color, or one of the lights whilst they're watching, so that they can tell me when we're getting closer to the look they want. All the new features that have been added to Maxwell over the past few years have enabled me to control lighting and direct it where I want it. And above all, for look development, it's important for me to be in control and not in the hands of what the render engine does automatically.